video chat. Hopefully this is coming through. As you can tell, if you're popping onto the live stream, I'm not in my home office. I'm kicking it here in the car because my son is over at music lessons. We had a change of schedule this week because we had a snowstorm earlier in the week. He normally has these music lessons earlier, but they had to reschedule it to Friday, and we're not missing the lesson. So I said, you know what, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do my live at 5 video Q&A here in the car while my son is in at music lessons. And I apologize for being a few minutes late. I had literally started right on time, and I was so proud of myself for starting the live video chat on time. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, nobody's popping onto the live stream. And I was talking to dead air for like 3 or 4 minutes. And then I said something wrong here. So I ended the stream, and I realized I had set it to private. So I was streaming a private video, meaning nobody on YouTube could see this thing. So anyway, I normally do this from my computer at home. So the settings on the phone is different from the settings on the computer. Anyway, we're here, we're making it work, right? Shit happens, but we're making this live at 5 anyway. All right, so who do we got joining in? I see we got several people joining in. It's coming through loud and clear. Appreciate that, folks. So we're still going to keep this going, and for those of you who are regulars to the video chat, you know how it works. I'm going to be hanging out here answering questions and topics of discussion that you guys have related to fitness and nutrition. Any specific challenges related to your workouts, anything building muscle, losing fat, anything along those lines, health and wellness, fitness and nutrition related, feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into the chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So let's just jump right in. Who do we got joining us? I see we've got Goshal saying it's coming through loud and clear. Appreciate it. We've got AJ joining in. Who else? Lee's joining in. Welcome, welcome. What's the temperature in Newfoundland? I'll show you. There, it's snow. That's the temperature. Actually, it's not crazy cold right now. It's minus 3 degrees Celsius. That's what it is right now. So it's actually not that cold, but we got lots of snow. Right? We had a snowstorm this past week, and we got a good dump of it. All right, just curious, who's, as the folks you're watching now, you're tuning in, where are you located to? All right, I'd be curious to know. We got Joshua joining in, AJ's joining in. Who else? This text is so freaking small on my phone, right? I'm one of these old timers now. Like, I need my glasses to see in the distance, but when I look up close, I gotta lift them up, right? So if you see me doing this like an old fart, well, that's why. Because on my phone, like, the text is so small, whereas on my computer, it's much bigger and easier to read. But we're going to make this work nonetheless. I feel like an old man here doing this shit. Jesus. Lee, I know you don't go heavy anymore, but do you think you could bench 315? Honestly, right now, that would be a stretch. At this stage of the game, I'm sure I could build up to it again and train for it, but right now, like, if I went into the gym today, put 3 plates on the bar, I think I'd be stapled to the bench, right? That's just being flat out honest, because I haven't lifted that heavy in a while now. I mean, literally, it's been several years since I've benched 3 plates aside. So yeah, just saying it like it is. But with that being said, I'm in better shape in other areas. Because right now, at this stage of the game, like, stamina, cardiovascular, VO2 max, like, that is at my personal best. I've never had cardio stamina at the level that I do right now, which is pretty cool. But in terms of maximum strength, that's not at my best right now. Right? You know, I've changed focus in recent years. Not saying that I'm not working out. I still go to the gym and lift weights 2 to 3 times a week. But my main sport, or my main competition side of things now, I'm really focusing on cycling, because it's just a change of pace, right? I've done bodybuilding competitively for 15 years. That was my main thing, and I still enjoy it. I mean, I still work out with weights, but I'm not training for bodybuilding competition, and I'm not training for powerlifting or anything like that. I'm training for cycling competitions now, and I find that that's just a nice, fun change of pace for me. But yeah, thanks for asking. Who else has got? Robert saying it's 46 and sunny. I'm assuming that's in Fahrenheit, because if it was 46 Celsius, it'd be a freaking hot day. But glad that it's sunny. And 46 is still above freezing, so there's nothing wrong with that. Who else we got joining? Costa Rica saying, how far is Saskatchewan? Brock Lesnar lives there. I was sanctioned in Fairbanks, Alaska. I know how cold it is, man. Well, Newfoundland is the complete opposite side of the country. You know, to put it in perspective, think of, I don't know, California and New York, like polar opposites, right? You know, it's the opposite. So Saskatchewan is nowhere near Newfoundland, and Alaska is nowhere near Newfoundland either. We're polar opposite sides of the continent there. No home office today. No, I already mentioned that. I know as people are popping onto the live stream there, what the frig is Lee doing in the car? I'm in the car today because my son, Harvey, is having music lessons tonight, and they switched the schedule around because we had a snowstorm earlier in the week. Normally he has music lessons on Mondays. They switched it around to Friday because of the snowstorm. And instead of scrapping the video chat, I said, you know what? I'm going to make it work. I'm just going to do it in the car, do it on my phone instead. So we're making it happen. And that's a little lesson that you can take that would apply to just your training and scheduling in general. Like a lot of people would say, oh, music lessons today, I don't have time to do the video chat, or oh, I don't have time to work out, or I don't have time to do this. You make it happen, right? You move shit around. You make your schedule happen. So, right, instead of just me saying I don't have time to do this, I modify it. I do that with my workouts all the time. Like sometimes my schedule gets screwed up and I can't work out in my preferred time slot. Well, instead of saying I'm not going to work out, I just move it around, or I make a change. Heck, instead of doing a gym workout, I might do a home workout. You know, if nothing else, I'll get outside and I'll go for a walk, or I'll do something like that. You know, there's always ways to make it happen if you want to make it happen, right? If you use time and circumstances as your excuse, you'll always find an excuse. There's no shortage of excuses if you go looking for them. But on the flip side, there's no shortages of ways to make things happen if you go looking for them. Look for the alternative. So we're doing the alternative today. All right. Have you noticed more gyms using AI-powered equipment to track reps from load? What are your thoughts on fitness and AI? I haven't seen any gyms using AI to track your weight, reps, load, or whatever. Now, with that being said, I'm referring to commercial gyms. Like, maybe I'm old school, I don't know. When I go into a commercial gym, at least the ones around here, it's still barbells and dumbbells and weight machines, and you know, you're lifting physical weight. There's no AI robots. There's no chat GPT at the gym yet, at least not that I know of. But there are some home gym machines that do use technology like that. Like there's a machine called the Tonal, which is basically like a digital home gym machine that will track your workouts and everything else, and it's computerized to give you the resistance through these cable pulleys that are all digitalized. Like you'll have to Google search. I've never used it myself. I just know about it because some of my coaching students actually have one. I have 2 coaching students that I'm working with who have these Tonal home gym machines, and they've made it work. I mean, it's pretty cool when you go look at it. Like if you just do a search online for it, it's this little thing that stacks up against the wall, but basically instead of a weight stack and stuff, there's handles that come out, and there's digital resistance, however the heck it works, I don't know, right? But it's digital resistance, and it'll save your profile in the computer there, so you can track your workouts, track your reps, track the weights that you're lifting and all that stuff, and adjust it all digitally. And I guess maybe it uses AI to a certain degree as well, but I'm not there yet. I'm still lifting barbells and dumbbells and kicking it old school, and I'm sure most people are as well. But who knows? You know, that might be the way of the future, and I'm sure it will be, right? AI tracking everything for us. Have you had a midlife crisis? Not yet. I'm on my way. Don't worry. So who asked that? Costa Rica, gee, right? How long will it take to go from 30% to 15% if training and diet is on point? Is 6 months realistic? Yeah, I think that is. Just to kind of put some realistic numbers there, I know, first off, just want to clarify this. Body fat loss in general, is going to depend on the individual, how hard you're pushing yourself, and if you're using any other forms of assistance to help you with fat loss. Whether that's fat loss drugs, I mean, nowadays we got all kinds of different drugs, from the Ozempic GLP-1 type of drugs that can crush your appetite and make fat loss easier, to other types of fat burning drugs, stuff that like sometimes performance enhancing bodybuilders and fitness athletes would use, right? Things to speed up the metabolism and fat loss. So that plays a role for sure. I mean, if someone's going to go down that road, yeah, okay, fat loss can happen faster. But from a normal diet and exercise point of view, a realistic goal when it comes to fat loss is to lose about 0.5% of body fat per week. So you want to lose 15% body fat, go from 30 to 15. Let's say you do that over the course of, if you lost 0.5% per week, in that range, that's kind of being on the conservative side too. Like, that's assuming you're leaving some margin of error. Not everything's going to be perfect. You might screw up a little bit, have a few little setbacks, but you're still pushing forward. That's the kind of results that you can realistically expect. So that would be like a 30-week journey. If you're a bit more disciplined, a bit more consistent, more aggressive with your fat loss, you could even push that a bit faster. But realistically, yeah, you could do that within a 6-month time frame. Absolutely. Right. And what would be unrealistic is when people saying, well, I want to do that in I want to do that in a month, or I want to do that in 6 weeks, or some crap like that. People saying, I'm going to do a 6-week shred, and I'm going to go from flab to abs in 6 weeks. Like, no, it ain't happening. Right? That's not the way it works. But if you give yourself enough time, you can definitely lose body fat and see some significant results over the course of 6 months or more. And a lot of times, depending on how much fat you have to lose, the secret to losing it is not necessarily dieting harder or pushing yourself harder. It's dieting longer. And this was a lesson that I had to learn the hard way when I was competing in bodybuilding. Because in my early years, I always thought a bodybuilding contest had to be a 12-week cut, a 12-week cutting diet, because that's what I read about in the magazines. Like, all the pros and everybody was talking about, oh, here's my 12-week pre-contest cutting diet. And if you're already in good shape, let's say you got a 4-pack at 12 weeks out, okay, yeah, maybe you can get down and get yourself contest ripped in 12 weeks. But if you got like a roll of belly fat at 12 weeks out, there's no way in hell you're getting shredded in just 12 weeks. It ain't going to happen. Right? It takes a lot longer than that. And I had to learn this lesson the hard way. So when I started getting serious with competing, the first time that I got ripped, instead of doing my regular 12-week contest cut that I was doing for my first several shows, I said, you know what? I'm going to diet longer. So I actually doubled it up. I started my contest cut, 6 months out instead of 3 months out. And I did the exact same diet, just dieted longer. And it worked phenomenal. I mean, I finally was able to get in my top shape. And we're actually going to talk about this on the next episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. I made a post about this on my social media accounts. I recently did a podcast interview with a good friend of mine, Zed Adamo, who's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. We competed back in the day. He's from originally he lived in Newfoundland, and we competed on the NLABBA Newfoundland bodybuilding scene for a while. And we did a podcast talking about the bodybuilding journey, talking about how we got started in bodybuilding, and then the whole idea of contest training and stuff like that, and everything that goes into it. So if you're interested in hearing about bodybuilding and the training and how things have evolved now that we're in our 40s and Zed's in his 50s, and hearing that journey, then you'll definitely want to check out that one. That's going to be released next week. I'm going to post it up on YouTube and all the on the podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, all that. So again, make sure to stay tuned for the next episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast if you're interested in checking that one out. All right, where was I to? I lost my spot there in the video chat. Let's see here, guys. Do some sports cost muscle? For example, my buddy is a mountain cyclist. I guess he means mountain bike cyclist. And shit, just a second, guys. My chat bounced. Do some sports cost muscle? For example, my buddy is a mountain bike cyclist, and he claimed he's lost a lot of leg muscle because of it. It depends. And yes, there are certain sports that will favor a leaner, slimmer physique and certain sports that favor a bigger, more muscular physique. And there is a difference. And I'm actually glad you brought that up. You can't train for both maximally unless it's specific. So I'll give you some examples here to break this down. If you're doing high intensity cycling, like track cycling, velodrome cycling, and your priority is on the short distance cycling, you can still build massive legs and be very powerful. It's like the version of sprinting. Like compare a sprinter versus a marathon runner. A sprinter is going to be much more heavily muscled than a long distance marathon runner. Both are running, but the intensity and how they're going about the running is different. The training and the nutrition is totally different. The body type and the genetic build that would make someone good at long distance running is going to be totally different than the genetic build that's going to make someone good at short distance, high intensity running. So even just that alone, we could just take the sport of running, right? One variation, again, short distance sprints favors a heavily muscled physique. Long distance endurance, marathons and ultra marathons and everything else favors a more leaner, lightly muscled physique, if you will. Someone who's smaller and lighter because you need to be more efficient. The same applies with cycling. You take a short distance track cyclist, they could be heavily muscled. I mean, even just do a Google search, right? Track cyclist legs or something like that. And you'll see guys who have legs that rival that of pro bodybuilders. I mean, just massive quads and hamstrings and just big ham hocks, just these big chunky legs, massive, muscle and power and explosiveness. And then vice versa, you look at like a long distance endurance cyclist, such as like a Tour de France cyclist, a lot of those guys are very slender build. And then you have everything in between. So depending on what type of cyclist, like if your friend is more of an endurance cyclist and that's what he's been prioritizing, then yeah, he probably would sacrifice some muscle mass training for that. And you also have to factor in, if he's prioritizing the cycling, then he can't put as much effort into bodybuilding or strength training because you only have so much recovery. It's not like I can go 100% in bodybuilding and 100% in cycling and still recover, right? We only have, the same amount of recovery. Like, let's visualize we have 100 units of recovery. It's not like 100 units for bodybuilding and 100 units for cycling. Like, you got 100 units total. How are you dividing that up? So if you're prioritizing the endurance, then yeah, that's going to cut into some of the mass that you would build from bodybuilding. Right. So yeah, there is definitely a cost of muscle, I guess, if you're going to be doing different sports. What else we got there? Who else is joining in? We've got to live a lean lifestyle, do you need to sacrifice eating for taste to eating for function, as unhealthy food tastes much better? I hear you. And where do you draw the line between eating very strict, healthy diet and an eating disorder? Okay, two questions there. That's a great question, and there's different degrees of how far we take this. A lean lifestyle. What's your definition of lean? Like, technically, if someone say like 15% body fat, a man that is, that's lean by the average standards. Like, I think the average person, at least in North America, is well over 30% body fat. I'm not sure the exact number, but like basically the average person is technically obese. Because once you're over 30% body fat, like that pushes you into the obese category. And that's just normal these days. That's just normal fat. That's not even morbidly obese fat. That's just normal everyday got a gut fat, right? That's where most people are. So if you're below that, then you're lean by average standards. And can you maintain a lean physique, meaning say like around 15% body fat, with just healthy eating habits and not going to the extremes? Absolutely. I mean, that's what we preach, and that's what we teach in the whole Muscle After 40 program, is helping the people to live a lean, healthy lifestyle without feeling like they're suffering it out on a diet. Now, you still have to make better food choices. It's not like, hey, I'm going to go pig out at the all-you-can-eat buffet and slam down pizza and burgers and fries and ice cream and live a lean lifestyle. No, it's not going to work that way. You're going to have to make better food choices, but you can still enjoy it. You can eat healthier and still tasty food choices. Now, if you want to push it to the limit of like competitive bodybuilding, where you have to get ultra shredded, I'm talking like single digit body fat, there has to be some sacrifice in there. There is going to be some hunger. There's going to be some discomfort. Like nobody just accidentally gets to single digit body fat without putting in some work, right? It's just not going to happen. Now, again, genetics play a role. Some people are just genetically leaner than others and they can maintain lower body fat without as much suffering. But if you're not a genetically lean person, in order to get ultra lean, you're going to have to put in the work. And I mean, prime example, like when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows, I used to diet for 6 months, like starting from my normal off-season weight. I would have to follow a strict structured diet, plus bump up the cardio and put conscious effort into fat loss for 6 months in order to get down to single digit body fat. So, there's a spectrum there. To get ultra lean, yeah, you got to suffer. To get comfortably lean, healthy lean, you can actually do that. There is going to be some restriction, but it can be manageable. It can still be a sustainable lifestyle approach if you go about it the right way. And that's what I like to focus on now. I mean, I'm not contest shredded, but I'm comfortably lean. Like I don't have like rolls of blubber hanging off me, and I'm not at risk of health issues because I'm morbidly obese and overweight or anything like that. I mean, I maintain a healthy body weight, but it doesn't feel like I'm suffering it out on a diet. So it's that happy balance, if you will, right? And that's what I strive to achieve, and that's what I teach my coaching students in the Muscle After 40 program. But yeah, it's a great question. I think he had a second part to that. What was the other one? Where do you draw the line between eating very strict, healthy diet and eating disorder? Okay, once it becomes obsessive, and you'll kind of know this, I think subconsciously you'll know this, but once it becomes a problem, and when you look at bodybuilders, like when they're in pre-contest phase, it's borderline an eating disorder in some cases because they're suffering to the point where they're getting dangerously low body fat. Like it's not healthy to be single digit body fat. That's below the healthy range. But it's only for a short-term thing. And then once you do the competition, do the photo shoot or whatever it is you're getting ready for, then you're going to go back up to a more normal body fat percentage. If someone was trying to sustain single-digit body fat permanently, I would consider that an eating disorder. Or if you get to the point where you're malnourished, like you're not getting enough nutrients and you're losing lean muscle tissue, and you can just tell the body is underweight and undernourished. I think that's when you draw the line for eating disorder. Now, again, I'm not a specialist in this. I know like the whole topic of eating disorders, like that's a whole other rabbit hole entirely. I've talked to people who specialize in that, and there's a lot of mental issues and things that go on to it. So again, I'm not trying to downplay it or even claim that I know anything about it, because I've never personally had an eating disorder, and it's not something that I specialize in. So if you feel that this is something that's of concern, go seek out some help, right? I would definitely recommend that. And there's a lot of help available. You just go online, start searching for it. You'll find the help and the resources you need. Who else we got joining in here today? Let's see. Second, guys. Again, I got to lift up the glasses to see because the text is so freaking small on that computer, or not computer, on the cell phone. GSP once said if he can't eat what he wants, he could quit MMA. I love food too. What do I do? Well, if he can't eat what he wants, he could quit MMA. I love food. What do I do? You got to find that balance, right? You got to find that balance that allows you to eat and sustain your body weight and sustain your fitness level, and that varies. Like MMA is different than bodybuilding because an MMA athlete is trying to train and eat for performance. Bodybuilders, especially as they get closer to a competition, it's not about performance, it's about simply losing body fat. And everyone who's ever done a bodybuilding show can attest to this. The closer you get to the competition, the leaner you get, the stricter your diet is, but the worse you feel, the worse you perform, the weaker you get. So from a performance point of view, it's actually kind of like one of the most stupidest sports out there, because the closer you get to the competition, the weaker and the weaker and the more susceptible to injury you are. Whereas most other sports, MMA for example, or any other performance related sports, the closer you get to competition, the stronger, the fitter, the better shape you're in. Like when I get ready for a cycling race, as I'm getting closer to the race, like my stamina and my strength and my endurance and stuff is building. And the reason for that is because you're actually nourishing your body and eating to match your activity level. Whereas bodybuilding, you're purposely in that extreme calorie deficit to just strip off body fat, and then the closer you get, then the weaker and leaner you get, and it's very counterintuitive, right? But yeah, I mean, it just depends on the sport that you choose and the activities you choose. All right, what else we got there, guys? What's your opinion on all the new peptides? Do you think there will be more and more enhanced lifters, more enhanced everyday lifters than natural over time? Yeah, probably, because stuff is just becoming more and more readily available. It's becoming more commonplace. Myself and Zed, when we did our interview for the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast, the second half of that podcast, we openly discussed performance enhancing substances. And the reason why I'm going to say substances is because it encompasses so many things now. It's not just the hormones in terms of like the testosterone and growth hormone and things like that. We're talking about peptides and SERMs and all these other things. I mean, even the GLP-1 drugs, things like Ozempic and Mounjaro and Wegovy. I mean, bodybuilders and athletes are using those things now. So it's a big broad spectrum. It's just this big witch's brew of stuff that people are putting into their bodies. And I think, yeah, it's going to become more and more mainstream, more and more commonplace. And it's a big bag of worms, because even with things like testosterone and hormone replacement therapy, I mean, if it's done properly, done under doctor supervision, and monitoring your blood work and everything else, it can be done in a safe way. And then you could even make the argument that having healthy hormone levels is better than declining hormone levels. Like if you're looking at someone in their 50s and beyond who naturally has a low testosterone because of just age and it's declining as they're getting older, putting them back to a healthy normal range mentally, physically, that mean we could make a good solid argument that that's actually healthier than suffering the side effects of the low dwindling testosterone levels. So yeah, I think this is definitely going to become more mainstream in the future, especially not only the black market side of things, but even more with hormone replacement clinics and things like that also utilizing these things. Like I know a lot of hormone replacement clinics now will incorporate peptides and things like that into their into the regimens as well. Yeah, it's the next level for sure. I mean, we're going to be seeing more and more of that. Hello, Lee. I noticed that when I do light dumbbell rear delt flies before my heavy dumbbell flat press, I notice that every rep feels smoother and without discomfort. Curious of knowing why. When I do light dumbbell rear flies before my heavy flat bench, I know. That makes a lot of sense, and I've noticed that as well. And I've even made videos in the past talking about pairing up agonist and antagonist muscle groups, so opposing muscle groups. And what you'll find is when you work your rear delts, your upper back, it actually helps to stabilize the shoulders, and that can complement, when you're doing a press. And a lot of times you can even pair this up in your workouts, work opposing movement patterns or opposing muscle groups. So for example, like pair up chest and back, biceps and triceps, hamstrings and quadriceps. Pairing up those opposing muscle groups very often is complementary, and it can actually make you feel stronger and more stable as you're doing your workouts. I try to do this often. So for example, it's quite common for me to do a chest and back, pair that together, biceps and triceps. And not only do I like to pair them together, I very often will alternate them. So for example, like I'll do a horizontal press, say like a bench press, and then I'll do a horizontal pull, a bent over row, a seated row, or something like that. So I'm working opposing movement patterns. A lot of times I'll even do like overhead press, overhead pull, bicep curl, tricep extension, leg extension, leg curl, like working the opposing movement patterns, the opposing exercises, and it's very complementary that way. Not only does it help to ensure equal development of the muscles on both sides, but it provides more joint health and joint stability as well. So very often when I'm structuring workout programs for myself and for my coaching students, I factor that in because it does make a noticeable difference. But yeah, it's good of you, good awareness on your part that you notice that, right? Definitely, you can certainly do that. You can incorporate it, work them in an alternate set fashion. You know, pair up the rear delts along with your chest presses. All right, who else we got joining in? Let's see. Haley, what is the best exercise for building power in the gluten? You must mean glutes. Must be a typo there, because I don't think anybody's trying to build power in their gluten. In their glutes. Best exercise. You know, I just want to talk about this for a second, because back in the day, nobody considered the glutes a body part, at least not a standalone body part. Yes, they're a muscle group and everything else, but you just did legs and your glutes got trained as a side effect of leg day, right? You didn't have a glute day. Like nowadays, especially among female athletes, like female figure competitors, bodybuilders and whatever, and even just female gym goers, like a lot of times you're chatting to them, like, okay, what are you working today? Oh, today is glute day, right? I'm going to do glutes today. And even a lot of guys do that as well. Like, oh, today is glute day. So, you know, that's a relatively new thing in the bodybuilding and fitness world, because back in the day, everybody you trained legs and glutes got hit as a side effect of that. And the reason I'm sharing that is because a lot of your leg exercises are indirectly great glute exercises. Squats, leg presses, deadlifts, lunges, all those are great glute exercises. Now, I mean, of course, you see a lot of people doing things like hip thrusts and kickbacks and a lot of different direct glute exercises to more isolate the glutes. I mean, you can certainly incorporate them, but I think if you're looking for the best, like squats, I don't think you can beat that. I mean, if you show me someone who's a strong squatter, they're going to be strong all over, and including, you know, hips and glutes as well. It's just one of those exercises, just has that progressional muscle building effect all over. Right. So yeah, I would say if you're looking for the quote unquote best, or if you wanted to limit it to just one exercise, then squats would be it. But the cool thing about it is we don't have to limit it to just one exercise. You know, you can include a wide variety of movements into your training. All right, who else we got joining in? Let's see. All right. If your son decided to be a professional bodybuilder, would you support him or warn him against it? It's a very tough lifestyle after all. Good question. I would certainly encourage the lifestyle in terms of going to the gym, working out on a regular basis, eating well, like the healthy side of bodybuilding lifestyle. If he wants to compete, yeah, I would help him. I would encourage him in terms of that, like help him get ready for local bodybuilding shows or whatever. Coach him. I would certainly do that. I would also caution him on the dark side of bodybuilding, if you will, because there is a dark side, as we all know. And can it be done safely? Can it be done in a healthy way? There's a fine line to it, but I believe that it can. I would certainly encourage it and just kind of let it play out by ear. I wouldn't force it on him by any stretch of the imagination, but if he wanted to pursue it on his own, you know, like self-motivated, that is, I would certainly be in his corner and supporting him. But I think just going through the process, it would probably have this natural elimination, because the sport of bodybuilding, if you don't have the genetics to be a top level pro bodybuilder, it doesn't matter how hard you work, how much gear you take or whatever, it's just not going to happen, right? And that applies with any sport. Like a lot of people don't realize the genetic component that comes into sports. Like when we're seeing top pros or athletes in any area, whether that's basketball, football, baseball, bodybuilding, powerlifting, running, cycling, the genetic component is huge. I mean, and I can appreciate this especially in my own case, like I've competed on the local level in bodybuilding and regional level for years. And if after 10 years of solid training, like you're not showing the signs of high level performance, then it probably is not in the cards for you, right? I'm just being honest. Not saying that you can't continue to make progress and continue to enjoy the sport, but like if you're not, you know, competing on the national level and doing damn well at the nationals after 10 years of competition, you probably don't have it. And I'm just going back to like look at some of the top pros in the sport. I'm just like guys like Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Lee Priest, and all the greats of bodybuilding. Like Phil Heath, another prime example. Like I think Phil Heath turned pro after 4 shows, which is just like ridiculous. These guys, they started competing and their bodies responded and they moved up the ranks very quickly because they have the genetics. I mean, they're just on another level compared to the average person. I mean, in fact, like a lot of these guys after a year in the gym have more muscle maturity on their frame than a lot of people do after 10 years of dedicated training. Again, we talked about this in the most recent Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. I'm currently editing that podcast now. That's why this is top of mind for me. But when I share that, you'll definitely want to check this one out. So I'm getting back to the question here. I think that just genetics alone would probably filter it out, because after you start competing for a while and you realize like, hey, if I probably don't have the genetics to be a pro bodybuilder, at least if he's taken after his dad's genetics, he probably doesn't, because dad didn't have the genetics to turn pro. So maybe he doesn't either, and I think that might naturally filter it out. But again, I would certainly support and encourage my son for whatever sport or activity he wants to do. I'd be behind him 100% for sure. Right? Like right now, he's taking up music lessons. That's why I'm here in the car. He's excited and passionate about music right now, and they actually have a concert that they're doing tomorrow. So this is like the final practice, final rehearsal before their concert. So I'm supporting them best I can. All right, moving on. I'm going to answer a couple more questions, and we're going to get ready to clue it up, because again, I have to go and pick him up from his music lessons very shortly. Where are we to here? I lost my spot in the chat. Just give me a second, guys. You like an actor. You remind me of Hitman for the Mafia, but with real good manners. I'm an actor, and I remind you of a hitman from the Mafia. Well, Jesus, I'm not hitting nobody, but I'm gonna take it as a compliment, I guess. Thanks. I don't know. That was great advice. Thank you. You're welcome. Glad that you enjoyed it. Glad the message is coming through. What's your favorite food? Mine is steak. Oh my goodness, my favorite food. It really depends. If we're going out to a dinner, like prime example for my birthday last year, I wanted to go out for sushi, and that's usually one of my favorite treat meals. Like if we're going to go out to a nice dinner, I usually like to go to a nice sushi restaurant and enjoy a really good meal of sushi. That's one of my favorites. But I also love going to a good steakhouse and having a nice steak. What else? I like going to a nice Italian restaurant and having like all the different pasta dishes and stuff like that. So I have a wide variety of food preferences, but if I had to just say like one, I don't know, it'd be so hard to have one, because as soon as I think of one, I would say I want the other one too. Though again, those are some of my favorites, right? I'm not going to limit it to just one favorite food, because like everybody, I got multiple favorite foods. Right? If you eat your quote-unquote favorite food too often, it doesn't become your favorite anymore, because you start to get sick of it. But again, I do enjoy a good steak. I do enjoy good sushi. I do enjoy good pasta dinners and stuff like that. I also enjoy good dessert too. But anyway, I just like food. It's just making me hungry. What else? I lift up my glasses, my old man glasses here. What am I trying to say? I see people at the gym doing shoulder press in reverse chest against the backboard. What muscle are you working that way? Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. You see people using the shoulder press machine, and instead of sitting with their back to the pad, they're turned around with their chest to the pad. It's still a shoulder press, but it just changes the emphasis of where you're hitting your shoulders. Because when your back is to the pad, typically you're pressing more towards the front. Like if you just look at the mechanics of a shoulder press machine, there's more emphasis towards the front of the shoulder. So you're kind of pressing more with your arms in front of your body. When you reverse it, now your shoulders are a bit back. So to kind of give you an analogy, it's almost like compare shoulder press to the front of the head and shoulder press behind the head. So if you were doing barbell shoulder presses to the front of your head, or you're doing shoulder presses to behind your head, it just places more of the emphasis to the rear. Now, some people like it. Some people have really good shoulder mobility and can press with their arms that far back. Some people don't. So if you're really tight in the shoulders and you don't have good mobility, that might not be a comfortable variation. But that's the reason why you see people do it. It just changes up the angle, places more emphasis of pressing to the rear. And some people find that they get a better contraction, maybe more emphasis on the side delts or something that way when they do shoulder presses to the rear, or sorry, with their chest facing the machine, facing backwards basically. It's just still a shoulder press, still works shoulders, just changes up the angle of the press. All right. Well, is that all the questions? If I'm not mistaken, let me just scroll through here, make sure I covered them all. If I did, we're going to get ready and clean this up. I know I normally go for an hour, but I have no problem cutting this video chat a bit short here today. If any of you are tuned in right now, if there's any one last question you want to ask before we clue this up, post it now, right? Going once, going twice, let me know. A second here now.
I'll try.
Oh, shit, I hit the Google button on my car steering wheel there. Google's talking to me while I'm doing my video chat. Shut up, Google! Lee seems... sorry, I got one more question. Lee seems to use the Viking press often, a good exercise. I do like the Viking press if you have access to that. And basically a Viking press is just a standing shoulder press machine, and it generally presses along an arc. We have one at our gym. That's why I use it, right? And we've got an old school machine that has that Viking press set up, and I love using it. So it's something that I do. But prior to working out at this gym, I mean, I train at Omega Health and Fitness, and they have that old Viking press machine there, and I love it. But prior to that, none of the gyms that I worked out in the past had that option or that machine available. So it wasn't a regular in my workouts, right? So I just did regular shoulder presses, barbell shoulder presses, or shoulder press machine, or whatever, right? I mean, bottom line, just take advantage of what you have available, right? It doesn't... If you have a particular machine that you like and it's available, hey, by all means use it. If not, make the best of what you have available. I mean, when I'm working out at home, it's mostly just barbells and dumbbells and some simple cable exercises, because that's all I have available at my home gym, but I make it work. You know, when I go to the commercial gym that has all the different fancy machines, then I'm going to use all the different fancy machines, right? Take advantage of what you have available, right? There's pros and cons to all of it. All right, so with that being said, guys, I'm going to get ready and clue it up. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I always enjoy doing these video chats, whether I'm doing them at home or I'm doing it on the fly on my cell phone in the car. I'm making it work nonetheless. And if you would like to elaborate on anything that we discussed here, like maybe if you have any other questions or you want to elaborate on anything we covered, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email. You can send me a private message through Facebook or Instagram. I'm on both. Just do a search for Lee Hayward on Facebook. Do a search for Lee Hayward on Instagram. You can connect with me at either one of those platforms. Or if you're old school and you don't use social media and you just use email, you can connect with me through email as well. Either one of those is fine, and I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. And if you would like some help with a customized fitness and nutrition program geared towards you, your situation, and helping you to reach your personal goals, reach out to me and we can chat about that as well. All right, I'm going to get ready and clue it up. I got to go pick up Harvey from his music lessons, and I'll talk to you next week. We'll have another Live at 5 video Q&A. All right, take care. Over and out. Now, how do I turn off this damn thing on my phone?